Hello, what's up? It's Will back once again. We're here for another UFC fight card. We're back in Fight Island, UFC Fight Night, Fight Island 5. Marlon Moraes against Cory Sandhagen as our main event here. A really legit main event. Really like that one. Over 5 rounds, which is always awesome. And there's some good fights throughout this card. Barboza and Amirkhani is your co-main event. You've got Tom Aspinall is a guy out here in the UK. They're starting to kind of build off a little bit. You've got Ilia Topuria, who I'm very high on. And there's other guys throughout the card. Giga against Marlon Moraes, a great fight. So, yeah, looking forward to kind of talking through that card there. Coming off an okay week. Was trying to follow up the big week at UFC 253. Didn't really happen. Lost a little. Looking forward to kind of getting this going here. I can see some of you guys in the chat there. I hope you're well, Buffo. I hope you're well, my man. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I had nearly 50 new subs in the space of the last few weeks, or the last 10 days, which is awesome for me. So the goal of 4,000 subs by the end of the year is well and truly achievable. So hopefully I can hit that there. But like I say, if you could throw a thumbs up on the video, it'd be much appreciated. And again, just go follow and support all the other subscribers, whether you take them a bit more seriously than I do, or they make better picks, whatever it may be. Just go and support the other guys, because they put out content week in, week out for you guys, and that's to be commended. Absolutely to be commended. So props to those guys out there. We're going to get started in here. I've got one bet already. I've got another 2 bets I'm probably going to make. So yeah, let me see how this goes this week. Hopefully I can turn it around, because last week I was kind of struggling for some bets and made a couple of late plays which were kind of silly on my part, but hopefully we can really get through this here. Flyweight division, we've got Bruno Silva. Now, if you were here last week, you'll know I've already put money down on his opponent here, Ulanbekov. I've got him parlayed up with Casey Kenny, who looked incredible last week against Haile Alateng. So yeah, I was very confident when they've been trying to get Tajia to get have a fight in the UFC for the longest time. He keeps falling out. Then it was the whole thing with the Habib's father passing away, which I think he was a part of, and knew him quite well. And so he's coming in here, a really good kind of grappler, typical Russian guy, very tough, gets takedowns, got a good record, fought decent guys. And now he's making his way over to the UFC, where you've got Bruno Silva, who is coming off that loss to David Dvorak, who David Dvorak's turned into a really good fighter, like a really sound, solid, all-around fighter. Ulanbekov is just a guy that I really like. The flyweight division, to me, is really on the up, and I'm really enjoying that for the simple fact that they were going to get rid of that a couple of years ago, and they've kept some guys around, they've built it, they've got more guys coming through. I mean, Tajia's got a 10-1 record. Good record to come into the UFC with his only loss via decision, which I think was a little bit controversial in my opinion. I thought he beat Zhalgas Yumagulov, who's also in the UFC. He really, I thought he won that fight through his grappling. And then he's came on here, he's been fighting in GFC, which is a very solid promotion coming out of Russia there, where they get a lot of really good fighters. There's been some fighters recently. I think Usman Nurmagomedov signed with Bellator last week. We've had Saeed Nurmagomedov come through there, so they've got some really top quality people coming out of there. I mean, he's won his last couple of fights, second round submissions. It was enjoyable to kind of watch that fight towards the end of last year there, after that loss to Zhalgas earlier on in the mid part of 2018. But just a solid all-around grappler, great submission grappler, very good with his positions, and I just think he's got a little bit too much for Bruno Silva, who, in my opinion, I don't think he really stands out in any one spot. And I mean, he's kind of got a mixed bag of a couple of knockouts, a couple of submissions, wins by decisions, a couple of losses by decisions. Coming off that loss to, I think it was Khalid Taha as well, where that got overturned because Khalid popped for steroids, and he's fighting. He is fighting Jack Shore, I believe, later on this year, which I'm looking forward to that one there. So I just think he's too good with his grappling. I think he will mix it up. I think once he gets it to the ground, he will just have thorough spots in this part where he will win the fight through his grappling. So I'm going to take Tajir to win via decision in that one there, and hopefully cash that parlay with Casey Kenny. Tracy Cortez against Stephanie Egger. I've had a little bit of back and forth with a couple of friends and who've maybe put some money down on Stephanie Egger here. The one thing that, I mean, Tracy Cortez, in my opinion, she should not be fighting at bantamweight. It's pretty clear when you see her. She's 5'5". She definitely fits into the 125-pound weight division a lot better than 135. But maybe sometimes in the UFC, I know that if she came in, she won at bantamweight against Melo, but they might keep you there. They might say there's not any room in the other division, which is a load of crap, because she can definitely drop down to 125 and be in that division. She shouldn't be at this division, but maybe she just doesn't want to drop the weight, which is fine. You look at Stephanie Egger here. She's 5-1, and she's fought hand-picked opponents, in my opinion. And I've had a little bit of back and forth with a friend of mine who's bet Stephanie Egger. You look where she's from in Switzerland. Her gym is Buddy MMA. They were making events, Buddy MMA Clash, and they were picking girls with bad records coming into the UFC and coming into that fight, I should say. And Stephanie Egger, what she's kind of known for is getting the fight to the ground, because her striking's pretty much non-existent. She throws them to the ground. Now, when she gets to mount, she's very dominant there. She's quite big for the division. She's obviously bigger than Tracy Cortez. And she can throw girls around. You've seen her. She went over to and fought in Risen, and she threw Rina Miera about her a little bit. Couldn't watch that fight. I watched a 50-second highlight, which was all Stephanie Egger really grappling her. I watched the Invicta fight. How that went to a split decision, I have no idea. I thought that she thoroughly lost that fight, probably 30-27, but somehow a judge kind of gave her 2 rounds in that fight, which is a little bit incredible to me that they did that. There's a lot of people telling me she went to, she was in the gold medal match against Gabby Garcia, who is obviously, she's absolutely jacked. She's got a judo black belt. Like I say, I don't think she's all that threatening outside of getting into a top position or maybe getting the back, because she is so much bigger than Tracy Cortez, who is a natural 125er. But Tracy Cortez, she's very open. Her striking's okay, but she's very open to getting counter-struck. Hit very hard. You've seen that in the Melo fight, where Melo just planted down, landed some nice combination shots, and really put it on her. In that third round especially, but her grappling, her wrestling, she's so durable with that. She goes after it, she'll get a single leg, she'll run round to the back, she will dominate from there, and that's what she did in that fight. She did it against Agapova in Dana White's Contender Series as well. I just don't think Stephanie Egger's much of a threat outside getting top position, or maybe staying on the back for large periods, but she overextends on her striking. She will look to push Cortez up against the cage. I think Cortez will reverse it. She'll get takedowns and she'll just grind out Stephanie Egger, in my opinion. So Tracy Cortez is going to be my pick there via unanimous decision. Featherweight division, Giga Chikadze against Omar Morales. Good fight. Looking forward to this one. 2 guys, big kickers, big strikers. This was something I looked at, and initially I never seen that Morales was actually dropping to 145. I thought he looked kind of big at 155, but for him to drop down to 145, I'm interested to see how the weight cut goes in this one, because, like I say, you can see fight ending power. You've seen that in the Dana White Contender Series, where he was chopping Harvey Park down with leg kicks, which were really devastating as the fight was going on. And once he got him compromised, he just went to work and started to land his hands. Went over to Korea, beat Dong Young Ma, got a takedown early on in that fight, had a little bit of top time, and then really just kind of won out through that. The Gabriel Benitez fight, I tried to fade him there. I thought Benitez had some strikes there which I thought could compromise Omar Morales. I don't think that was that just didn't turn out to be the case there, and Morales went through and won a very, very good fight against Gabriel Benitez. Now he's got a guy in Giga who's known for his striking. Many years in the kickboxing scene. He's made his way over to the UFC, and I've never really been overly impressed with Giga Chikadze, but he's solid and he's shown that in the UFC. I think he's had a little bit of luck on his side. The Brandon Davis fight was a little bit lucky in my opinion. Jamal Emmers, I thought, was close. Erwin Rivera, he came in very short notice up a division, and his striking's very, very polished. I don't like his gas tank too much, but that might be negated by the fact that Omar Morales is dropping down here to down to this division. So he's going to gas, in my opinion, in the mid part of this fight. I think both guys, they've kind of got similar striking statistics where they kind of land and they absorb pretty much the same amount. But to me, when you look at the crisp shots, crisp technical shots, it's on Giga's side. You look at the power shots, it's definitely on Moraes' side. So I'm going to go Giga Chikadze. I've bet him already. I thought the line, he was at a higher line when I looked at it, and then I looked into the fight a little bit, and the line came down, and the lines came down even more since then. So I bet Giga at plus 150. I like that bet. I think it's going to be a close encounter. I can see this going to the judges. I can see it being extremely close, where I think that just the more strikes will land, the more kind of crisper technical strikes will land on Giga's side. So I'm taking Giga Chikadze to win that one via very close decision. That could be another one that kind of goes to split decision there, in my opinion. Ali Al-Qaisi against Tony Kelly. I must admit, I wasn't super impressed with Ali Al-Qaisi in his debut. I thought he was very hittable, very game. I thought he really gave his all in that fight, which is a lot of respect to him for that. Was always looking for the takedown, and that's pretty much what his game is. He will look to try and get this fight to the ground kind of any way possible, because that is where his strong suit really, really lies, is in that spot there. Tony Kelly came in, I think it was fairly short notice against Kai Kamaka, where he really gave a great fight for himself, got fight of the night. Both guys landed high volume in that one, a lot of punishment on both sides. Kai Kamaka really mixed in the takedowns, which is obviously something that Al-Qaisi is going to be looking at, and I think he might get a couple of some takedowns off here. But I really like Tony Kelly in this spot. I think Al-Qaisi, I mean, it's a pretty short turnaround. Al-Qaisi, let's see, when did he fight? August 8th, so not even 2 months, around 2 months. So his game plan's not going to change. He's not going to be making any serious improvements. It's the same with Tony Kelly. He fought fairly recently as well. Al-Qaisi is going to look to kind of box to get into that range where he can dive in on double legs. That's what he does. And he could obviously get them here against Tony Kelly, who's shown that he can be taken down on numerous occasions, but he can also work back to his feet. On the feet, Tony Kelly's just too good on the feet, so he's going to beat him up a little bit. He's going to bust him up, pretty much like Alwin Rivera did a little bit. So, like I say, the line on kind of Tony Kelly's went to, let me see, where is that line went to? Minus 220, so I kind of agree with it being a little bit lower, but Tony Kelly's going to be my pick there. If Al-Qaisi can't get takedowns in this fight, I think that he's going to get butchered on the feet a little bit, because Tony Kelly's too good and he's too accurate on the feet in this spot here. So I'm going to take Tony Kelly. I actually think he could stop Al-Qaisi, even though Al-Qaisi's shown he's very durable, can take a lot of hits himself, keep on coming. So I'll take Tony Kelly. Did I take him via stoppage? No, I'm going to take him via decision in that one there. Impa Kasanganay against Joaquin Buckley. I think this is a really good fight. I was actually pretty impressed with Buckley on his short notice debut against Kevin Holland. Came out there, I knew that he was kind of at a disadvantage against that guy, a reach disadvantage, probably a talent disadvantage, technical disadvantage. But he just came out there, threw some bombs, looked to try and bring the fight to Kevin Holland. But Kevin Holland's just too seasoned at this point for someone like Kevin Holland. Now, this is a fight that, even though I like what I've seen from Buckley, I really liked what I've seen from Impa Kasanganay in his debut. I thought against Maki Pitolo, he showed a little bit of everything. Very durable, very hard hitting. Was hurting Pitolo with some big shots all around the body, to the legs, to the gut, to the midsection, up top there. He was really mixing up his strikes. I think he's a smarter fighter than what he showed in his first fight. I think he wanted to kind of really stand there, throw down, show what he's got in the feet. I think he can mix it up. I think he can clinch very well, push you against the cage. I actually think he can get takedowns. I think he's stronger. I think he can... his movement's better. He feints off. The one thing that he has to be careful with, and it's the same in the Pitolo fight, that he has to watch the big bombs that Buckley will throw, because Buckley, that fight couldn't have been long ago either, was it? 8th August. So it was 2 months. It was on the same card as the previous one beforehand there. I mean, he came out there and he landed shots on Holland, and he can do that. But I think as a well-rounded fighter, and especially the gym where Kasanganay is coming from, they're on a heater at the minute. A lot of really good fighters coming through. John Salter over in Bellator, and there's a couple other guys here in the UFC. I just like Kasanganay. I think he can mix it up if he wants to. I think if you avoid the big shots, I think he picks apart someone like Buckley quite easily. I think it's a tough fight for Buckley, honestly. From coming from Holland, I thought, right, he came in there short notice. You can maybe give him an opponent that he can maybe be a little bit more dangerous against. But I think to me, Kasanganay should win pretty convincingly here. He's one of my more confident picks of the week. He's a parlay piece in my opinion. I think someone at the start of the video in the chat there was saying that what's a strong parlay piece. I think Impa Kasanganay is minus 250 here in the UK. I think that's a good parlay piece in my opinion. But if you don't want to go there, then that's fine. I like what I see from Kasanganay in this spot. A little bit upset for Buckley because I think if they built him up a little bit, he could be an exciting fighter. But the UFC just want to maybe build Kasanganay. They see more in him, and they will look to do that. So I will go Impa Kasanganay. I think he stops Buckley. I think he will catch him with some big shots, and he will take him out in the mid part of this fight. So I've got Kasanganay be a stoppage there. Moving on to the heavyweight division, we've got Chris Daukaus against Rodrigo Nascimento. Both guys coming off big wins in their UFC debuts. Daukaus at 9-3, Nascimento at 8-0. I was pretty impressed with what I've seen from Nascimento. I must admit, I thought that again against Don'Tale Mayes, he is very hittable. He's not a high-end heavyweight. To be fair, both guys fought pretty low-level heavyweights in my opinion. But Nascimento showed a little bit more, showed he's dangerous with his takedowns, can mix it up, throw some nice straight shots. He's got a nice calf kick, and just looked a dangerous fighter overall. So when you look at Daukaus, showed good boxing, but he had a speed advantage over Parker Porter, where he was really just landing fast. He hit a couple of shots, but he was landing the bigger shots. Eventually caught that knee in the first round and took him out. Where I look at this one is, I think on the feet, I think that Daukaus with the hands is decent, but as an overall striker, I think that Nascimento is better. I think he incorporates kicks. I think in the clinch you can see him working to the body, landing some knees, and then he can get takedowns, and I think that's where the strong spot's going to be here. I don't know whether he's been back over to American Top Team, because that's somewhere he was before his previous fight against Don'Tale Mayes. So yeah, I like the more well-rounded fighter, and I think that is Nascimento. But again, heavyweight division, you've seen that last week there. Sorry guys. You've seen that with Carlos Felipe against Jorgen De Castro. These big dogs can come through, they can make adjustments, and they can win at big odds. I just don't see it here. I think Nascimento wins. I think he can win over a load of things. I think he can knock him out. I think he can submit him. I think that's where he is going to get him. He's going to submit him in the mid to kind of late part of this fight here. So I'll take Rodrigo Nascimento. I'll take him to win via another submission in that one there. Moving on, Tom Breese against KB Bhullar here. I've had people message me about this fight through Twitter, and some people have sent me emails saying, "Oh, it's Tom Breese. Can you really trust this guy anymore?" And I'm like, it's kind of hard to trust him in this sport, in any sport at the minute, because you think he's coming in there, and the guy's got a lot of talent. He's always had a lot of talent, but if you've not got it in there, you're never going to translate into anything in the UFC. And it's turned out that his mentality, his kind of mental fortitude has really kind of let him down in the UFC. His last kind of couple of fights, even though there is a win in there over Dan Kelly, he's not fought frequently over the last 4 years. I think it's his fight number 4 in maybe 4 years possibly. And he's got a couple of losses in there, and he's got to fight day, and he's had kind of nervous problems where he can't fight. So it's kind of hard to really trust this guy. I thought he had advantages against Brendan Allen. Turned out he didn't. Brendan Allen absolutely put him down there, put him in a position where he couldn't get out, and then knocked him out. He didn't even really move anywhere to get shots off. KB Bhullar, I watched a couple of fights, the Matt Dwyer one. Nothing really stands out to me in my opinion. I know he's 8-0. I'm not sold on what I've kind of seen of him a little bit. He's well rounded enough. I think he's okay as a fighter, but I think when I look skill for skill here, I think this is a big step up against Tom Breese, where I think Tom Breese can look decent. I mean, KB Bhullar's got 4 wins via TKO, a couple of wins via submission, a couple by decision, and his biggest win is probably over someone like Matt Dwyer, who I think he might have been a previous UFC fighter off the top of my head, and he got a unanimous decision victory there over 5 rounds. I've seen some people kind of confident in KB Bhullar, and I can maybe see why you want to fade Tom Breese. But in my opinion, Tom Breese is a big dude for that division. He's got legit skills, I think, on the ground, even though he didn't really show it last time out. I'm going to pick Tom Breese, but like I say, if you feel like you want to take the shot on KB Bhullar, what is the odds on this dude at the minute? KB Bhullar, where are you? Kind of lost it there. Oh, the odds aren't up. Oh, they're there. Plus 225, so you're getting big dog odds if you want to take a shot on him there. I'm not in that spot. I'm going to take Tom Breese. I think if he can get him to the ground, he can work him pretty convincingly down there. And this is, like I said, this is a step up against Tom Breese. And if Tom Breese puts it all together, I think he can make this kind of easy here. So I'll take Tom Breese for the win in that one there. Now, this is one of the fights I am really looking forward to, and I've seen some of you guys in the chat actually talking about it. Youssef Zalal against the newcomer from Georgia, Ilia Topuria, who's a guy I've had my eye on for 3 years. If you watched the video, I made a video back in March of 10 fighters the UFC should sign, and Ilia Topuria was one of the guys I thought the UFC should sign. And then obviously COVID hit. I didn't think they were going to sign that many fighters, but he's getting his opportunity here, coming in here 10 days notice. They did sign him before that. They were working on a fight for him. And these fighters out of Georgia, now I know if he fights out of Spain, his camp's in Spain, but Georgia has got a load of fighters coming into the UFC very soon. They actually signed another one today. Guram Kutadze, I think his name is. He's Khamzat Chimaev's training partner. He goes out, he fights out of Sweden, 11-2 record. They've got other guys that are signed, they're just waiting on visas clearing. They're coming into UFC. Mirab, you've got obviously Giga on here. So as a country, Georgia are bringing great fighters into the UFC, and I think this guy has the potential to be a really good fighter here. Like I say, I kind of came across this guy 3 years ago, and when you look at some of his skill sets, I mean, he's very aggressive. I think he works the body very well, big power. He fought in Cage Warriors. I think that might have been where I came around him the first time there. He was due to fight for the bantamweight championship down there, and he missed weight. I think he struggles to make 135. Now in the UFC, if he goes to the PI, I think he could make the cut to maybe 135 and do it better than what he previously could in the regionals. So he's been fighting at 145, fought in Brave, fought a couple of guys there. The guy's got really good jiu-jitsu skills along with his striking. He's got one-punch power. We've seen that in his last fight against, I think it's Stephen Gonzalez there. Kind of ate a head kick in the first round there, kind of early in the first round, and it stumbled him a little bit, and he kind of regrouped himself after kind of getting semi-dropped with that one. Got back to his feet, had a couple of exchanges on the ground first, but then got back to his feet. Really started to put it on Gonzalez, and then caught him with a beautiful shot and knocked him out clean, one-shot knockout. Then you've seen there was other fights there where he works the body tremendously well against the cage, but he's also got very well-timed takedowns, good calf kicks. He does everything very well, and he's a bit of a danger guy once he gets on the ground. He can lock up chokes very quickly. You've seen that with some of his fights. I'd advise you to go out and watch some of his fights. There's 6 fights out there that you can watch of his. I advise you to go and watch, because I think he's going to be a solid fighter. Now, when you look at Youssef Zalal here, he's big. He's a big 145er. I think he's got like a 3 or 4 inch height advantage here. He's got like a 3 inch reach advantage. He's a natural featherweight in my opinion. And I kind of writ him off a little bit when I was speaking to a couple of guys. It's like, I'm not too sold on Zalal. But then I went back and watched some more of his fights today, and the guy's actually got a lot of he's a very crafty fighter. He's got a lot of things in his toolbox that you have to be careful with. When you look at like just some of the things he has a nice long jab, very light on his feet. He's got a beautiful calf kick. He feints off really well. He's got a great gas tank, fights out of Elevation Factory X in Colorado, so can go really hard, can time takedowns, can grab single legs. He's got a really good left high kick. You've seen in the Jordan Griffin fight that he can attack the body as well. He does make mistakes though. You can get to his back, you can take him down, and he will give you opportunities. Now he's got chokes in there You've seen in that fight with was it Peter Barrett? I think he caught him with he caught a spinning, like that first round, spinning back kick right to the neck there of Barrett, nearly knocked him out, but Barrett showed his toughness, came through there. So he's got a lot of things there, and he's only young, 23, 24 years of age. Both guys are that age there, so really, both guys are really, really good fighters young age. I like how they're bringing these young guys through and that they're trying to develop them a little bit. In Zalal, this is his 4th fight since February, I think it is, and he's 3-0. And I don't think he's been fighting high caliber guys. I mean, Lingo, Jordan Griffin's a tough guy. I thought he won the first round, Jordan Griffin, and then as he started to deplete himself, and Zalal saw this, he's very aware in the cage. That's what I'm saying. He's very versatile, very crafty. He can see what's coming here. I think Topuria can stand with him. Like I say, you have to be careful with Zalal because he's very light in his feet. He will move into the centre of the cage, but he will give you opportunities. I think Topuria can catch him with a shot. I think he can actually take Zalal down. If he was to get a position where he could get the back, I think he could submit him. I'm going to bet Ilia Topuria personally. I think that in the UK right now he's plus 163. I think some love on Zalal will come in here. I don't like the fact that obviously it's on 9 days' notice, but I do think he's a really good fighter. But it's a very tough fight in your UFC debut. I must admit, Zalal's actually, when I went back and watched his fights, I was like, this kid could turn out to be really good because he's got a lot of defining qualities in his game. Not much of a finisher, even though you watch his LFA fight, he's got like a beautiful jumping knee which he can catch you with, and he can mix up his combinations going from he can throw a right left and finish it with a flying knee, so he's very explosive. You have to be careful. I think the line's a little bit off. I think more money will come in Zalal, maybe push that line up into Topuria, so I'm willing to take the shot here. It kind of reminds me, I don't want it's kind of a different fight, the Ludovic Klein fight from a couple of weeks ago, where I'm watching these guys in the regional scene here in Europe, and you're seeing them make their way into the UFC there, and I like that. So I've got Ilia Topuria. I'm actually going to pick him via stoppage in this one here, because I think if it goes 3 rounds, Zalal might pip him to the post, especially if Topuria can't get in positions of dominance in the fight. So if this goes late, I think Zalal maybe takes it, but I'm going to take Topuria. I'm going to take him. He could knock him out, he could submit him, I don't know. I'm just going to take him via stoppage in that spot there. So Ilia Topuria via stoppage in the first couple of rounds there. If not, probably Zalal via decision, but I'm willing to take the shot in Topuria in my opinion. So moving on to the main card. An exciting heavyweight. Tom Aspinall against Alan Baudot. Like I said, I'm still not super sold on Tom Aspinall yet. I think they have to kind of take their time with him, build him a little bit, but he's shown that he's got a lot of skills. And you've seen that in Jake Collier. Jake Collier came in there and he looked a completely different guy. He looked like he ate the Jake Collier of a couple of years ago, then some, like 2 or 3 times over, and looked massive. And then Tom Aspinall just showed that he's got very fast hands, he's got very clean hands, and he can put it on you there. He's a black belt. I'm not sure. I kind of believe that the kind of black belt status there, he got it from his dad, so you can never be sure of spots like that. But you've seen he's got a lot of really like big strikes on the feet there. I think he's a little bit too fast. Cardinals defense sucked yesterday. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, it was a rough day for a Cardinals fan yesterday. So, but getting back to this one here, I think against Spivak, I think that was a great fight for him. I really thought he was going to come in there. I think he was going to have a very tough fight, but ultimately I think I seen him kind of maybe beating Spivak in that one there. But he's against Alan Baudot here, who, if you kind of watched a couple of his fights, you've seen maybe on TKO, I think it was there, where he was... his last fight was a weird one. They say he won and then he got changed to a DQ and so on and so on. Fights out of MMA Factory in Paris. It's a big week for MMA over there, considering Bellator are going over. Won his last 2 fights. Like I say, there was the whole thing at TKO there. I don't know how that went down. Beat Nakajima via TKO. He's got a lot of early finishes in this one here. But I think Tom Aspinall, to me, they want to build him up a little bit. He's got a couple of early losses in his career, but if they do the right thing, build him up with favourable fights, I think they could turn this guy into a fairly decent heavyweight. So I've got Tom Aspinall in this spot here. I've got him via knockout. Jack Attack, I've seen there you're asking regarding Cortez and Ega. I've got Cortez in that one. I think if you go back and watch it, I don't think Ega's that good. I think the line is off. I think the betting line's a little bit high. But when I went back and watched the 3 or 4 fights of Ega, I think that I wasn't impressed, and she's fighting hand-picked people that her camp is making fight events for, that they're really picking hand-picked girls out there with bad records. So I've got Cortez in that one, but I've got Tom Aspinall in that one there. So yeah, moving on, Marcus Perez against Dricus du Plessis. This is another good fight, and this is another potential bet on my part here. I am picking Marcus Perez in this spot here. I think the betting lines honestly should be a little bit closer. Perez over here in the UK, I think he's plus 125. I think he's the same in the States here. Dricus du Plessis is a guy I've known about for many, many years, coming up in the South African regional, well, not regionals, because EFC, who they've got in there, they build it. I mean, they're the only real show in town over there in South Africa, and they build the event up really big there over there. They put together a lot of fans in there, and they make the fights that the fans kind of want to see. And more guys are starting to make their way at the UFC. Some of them don't have the best of luck. I mean, Ruan Potts, Gareth McClellan. When you look at Gareth McClellan, he beat Dricus du Plessis, but then you look at Dricus there, who was only 20 at the time, 3 pro fights. You look at Gareth McClellan, he was kind of the man at this point. I mean, Dricus du Plessis, he's a 2-weight world champion, or he was in EFC, welterweight and middleweight, where he's went up there and won some fights. Then he moved over to KSW, and he's got a big win on his record. I will not discredit him in this one. He knocked out Roberto Soldic in the second round of that fight there. And I've watched that fight a couple of times this week, actually, or last week, I should say, where he came out and he withstood Soldic's big strikes. They weren't really landing cleanly. And then getting the second round, and towards the end of that first round, he took the back and he was being kind of dominant in there, and not dominant, but he kind of held him there where he took him to the ground late on, and then the bell went. In the second round, he caught him with a beautiful, I'm looking at a beautiful counter left hook, and knocked out Soldic dead. Like, he put him out, and that was a massive shock. I did not see that coming. They rematched, and Soldic was just dominant from the get-go and really put it on him in that spot, and beat him up pretty badly. Then he fought Jolton Santos, and I thought he lost the first round there, and then got him to the ground and then started raining punches. And I don't think, I mean, I can see why Mark Goddard stopped the fight, because he was defending himself, but he really wasn't doing anything to move the position. So he was kind of asking for the fight there to be stopped, and that's what happened. Went back to EFC, fought Brendan Lazar, which is crazy because he's like 38 years old with like a 3-1 record. He was the champion at that point there. And Brendan Lazar was actually a guy that sponsored Dricus du Plessis back in the day when he was coming through the EFC there, fighting for his belt and so on. So that was weird there, and got him out there fairly convincingly with a guillotine choke. I think he's a very well put together fighter. I think he's got some good low kicks, can attack the body. He's obviously got some power in his hands. I mean, Soldic, in my opinion, I think he will be a really good fighter if he makes his way over at the UFC. I'm a big fan of Roberto Soldic. He's a young guy, 23, 24, multiple defences of his title in KSW, and there's a lot to come from in that there. I think he had like 30 odd kickboxing fights as well, did Drew Plessis, so he's got some skills there. Perez is beatable, definitely beatable, but very, very dangerous as well with his chokes. Everybody seems to want to push Perez up against the cage there. It's like Fluffy Hernandez tried to do it, Botnovich tried to do it, Sanchez tried to do it. I thought he was a little bit unlucky against Sanchez in that when their Turman fight was close, even though I thought that Turman won the fight, but I thought it was close. I just like what Maluko kind of brings to the cage. Very aggressive. I like him in this spot here. I've seen people, there's people in the chat there that like du Plessis. I think if you wait, you might get some money that comes in on Perez. You might get a better line, possibly. But like I said, du Plessis coming in here short notice. Maluka was looking to fight Chimaev, which, dude, I don't think that's the spot right now. But yeah, I'm going to take Marcus Perez. I actually think he could stop du Plessis, and I think he could easily kind of come through here in the last couple of rounds and win. So I'm going to take a shot. I'm probably going to end up betting Marcus Perez. Who did I bet him against? Fluffy Hernandez. He was a dog in that one. No idea why he was kind of the underdog in that spot there. So I'm going to bet Marcus Perez. I'm going to pick him to win here. But du Plessis is a good guy. He's a good sign at the UFC. I think they can, if they give him the right fights, they can build up around him a little bit. Get maybe some more guys in from South Africa, which there is definitely guys there they can bring over. So I'm going to take Marcus Perez for the win in that one there. Ben Rothwell against Marcin Tybura. I'm kind of a little bit sketched out why this line's so high. Like, because Ben Rothwell's not looked the same guy since he came back after that second stint of testing positive for whatever it was through USADA. Tybura's a bit of a spoiler. I think he's the overall better striker. I think he can kick more. I think he can push him up against the cage. I think he has to be careful of Rothwell's power. So to me, it's kind of dog or pass in this spot. But Tybura, in my opinion, he hasn't looked good in his last few fights. I thought that they've kind of gave him wins there where they kind of gets him back in the win spot again. If I'm being honest with you, I think that the Grishin fight, he came in there short notice. I thought that if Grishin could establish early, he could beat him. That's why I picked him in that spot. The Spivak win, I think, is a good win because Spivak's turned out to be an okay fighter. After initially I said he was one of the worst heavyweights, he's turned out to be very workable kind of in the UFC. So he's got a couple of wins over okay-ish guys. Ben Rothwell's a much experienced guy. He's going to be harder to kind of face in there than the previous two. And you've seen when he kind of fought kind of more experienced guys in your Sakai. Not experienced guys, because they're kind of younger guys coming through, but Shamil, that if you can touch his chin, you can put him out. It's not one I've looked into all that much. I think it's kind of dog or pass, but I'm going to go on the Rothwell side, even though I know there's some people in there that are betting Tybura. I just don't want to bet this fight. I don't really want. I'd rather there's other spots I really like. But if you're betting Tybura, I wish you all the best. I'm going to pick Ben Rothwell in that one. Co-main event of the night, you get Edson Barboza against Makwan Amirkhani. I must admit, I quite like this fight for Edson Barboza. If Makwan Amirkhani cannot get this fight to the ground, he's going to get picked apart. Barboza back down at featherweight. I still think that he beat Dan Ige, which is a little bit. It was a close fight. That's maybe me just talking because I bet Barboza and I was like, dude, I thought he won that fight. But yeah, Ige came through there like the Ige guys that had the underdog in that spot. Much respect to you for cashing that one there. Ige's a tough dude, by the way. Absolute tough dude. Makwan Amirkhani, I mean, I think in his last fight he showed an improvement in his game with his striking, but ultimately he wants to grapple. That's what he's all about in that spot there. You've seen that in the Fishgold fight. He looks to get there. He's very dangerous with chokes. But that's where he needs to get the fight, because if he stands for any length of time on here, he's going to get picked apart. Barboza can pick apart anybody. That's the thing. He can absolutely pick anybody apart. But if Amirkhani can establish, maybe push him against the cage, tire him out, then as the fight goes on, he might be able to get takedowns through that. So, yeah, I'm a little bit... I feel like Amirkhani will make this closer than what the odds suggest. I mean, Barboza's what, minus 250? Minus 255. I think that the first round's a huge round here, because if Amirkhani can come out here without real taking big damage and not be compromised, then maybe as the late parts of this one go on, I think that he could potentially maybe get takedowns and maybe win in some spots here. And like once the fight hits the ground, that's when he's going to become alive, because Abu Azaitar's not fighting. Abu Azaitar's out, so someone in the chat there. So yeah, I've never been a big Amirkhani fan. I thought he was a little bit... he talked a good game back in the day. after his quick win over Andy Ogle, and then he worked his way through, lost a couple of good fights. I mean, he lost to Burgos, started off that fight really well, but then got really pieced apart in that later part of that fight. Arnold Allen, which I thought was a really fun fight. I remember betting on Arnold in that spot there. I remember betting Jason Knight. I thought he did enough to win that one. I just think Barboza's maybe a level up ahead. So I'm going to take him. I think he picks apart Makwan and Amirkhani and gets them out of there in the second round. So I've got Edson Barboza for the win there. And the main event of the night, you've got, this is a great fight as well. And I've kind of been scratching my head with this. I don't know which way to kind of go, but I've decided where I'm going. Marlon Moraes against Cory Sandhagen. Big fight for the bantamweight division here. Two guys who've kind of got the experience of Marlon Moraes and the explosiveness of Marlon Moraes against the kind of the technical prowess of kind of Sandhagen with the length, the height, big for the division, very wiry for the division, coming off his first loss in the UFC, where he got, well, the kind of the thing that could definitely happen really happened. He got taken down once and got completely dominated and got submitted by Aljamain Sterling, and I was so pissed after that one because I bet Cory Sandhagen as an underdog, but I knew that if Sterling could establish on the ground and get him down there, that he could absolutely go through him, and that's eventually what he did. He really, if you watch the finishing kind of piece of that fight there, where you just see Sterling just working the little bits and nuances in the grappling game where he got there and he got the finish. It was an incredible finish. Big when they obviously got in the fight. So that was a title eliminator. This is another one here. I mean, we don't know what's going on with the bantamweight division. They've not made Sterling against Peter Yan, which is a little bit kind of, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're making that for December. It'd be nice if they did, because there's a couple of I think there's 3 pay-per-views in the last 2 months of the year, which is quite good. So hopefully they make that one here. But this is a big fight here. Obviously you've got Moraes, who's got big talents, big submissions, big low kicks, big explosive strikes, and he can absolutely do that for the entirety of the fight. Not for the entirety of the fight, for the early part of this fight. But I feel that if he puts too much into these early rounds, and then Sandhagen, if he's sticking around, he will start to pick apart Marlon Moraes a little bit. But when you look at the Sandhagen fights there, John Lineker was landing big on him. He took his shots well there, so that's a little bit of something that I'm kind of confident in Sandhagen, that if he can take maybe John Lineker's shots, then maybe he can take Marlon Moraes. I thought John Lineker fought very close in that spot there, was a little bit unlucky in my opinion, but I did think the right decision was on the Sandhagen side. Like I say, Sandhagen puts it all together, very long, good combinations, very hard, very durable, but we have seen him in spots before where he can be put in bad spots. Alcantara put him in bad spots, nearly snapped his arm, still managed to come through, win there once he got that top control, really started bashing him with ground and pound. So the way this kind of plays out to me is, and I said this last week with a fight, I can't remember what it was, but if Marlon Moraes can really establish early on, he's going to be a really kind of tough guy to face. But if he cannot get Cory Sandhagen out, then I can see Sandhagen picking him apart later on. So I see you guys in chat there, I've got 63 people, nearly up to 70 at one point. That's awesome, I much appreciate that. Who have you guys got in the main event? Have you got Moraes? Have you got Sandhagen? To me, I'm kind of struggling with this one. I'm scratching my head. I don't want to bet this fight. I've got other spots that I feel more confident in. When I was watching this one, I think that I don't know, Moraes early for me or Sandhagen late is kind of what I'm looking at. So I think I'm going to go Marlon Moraes. I think that he can maybe take out Cory Sandhagen, but I'm not super confident in the spot. I'm going to sit back and watch that fight and see how it plays out. Moraes is a lot older, and that cut down to 135 is only going to be really tough, especially when if he loses this one, then I think he has to go up to 145, because I think that the 135 dream's kind of over in my opinion. So yeah, I'm going to take Marlon Moraes via stoppage in the first 2 rounds. I kind of like him in the early couple of rounds, but if Sandhagen survives and he's not got his legs kind of kicked off, because he has got skinny legs, then he can maybe come through in the last part of this fight. But I'm going to go Marlon Moraes there in that spot. Kind of like the fact that he's an underdog for DraftKings. So yeah, guys, it's been awesome speaking with you. I've seen you guys in the chat there going back and forward. I'm loving that. Up to 60 people in the chat. That's fantastic. If there's any late newcomers that like to throw a thumbs up in the video, it would be much appreciated. It always helps the video with the analytics out there. So if you can, guys, please a thumbs up. And then, like I say, I just appreciate everyone for sticking around for 45 minutes here while we're talking some fights. I love it every week that we get to kind of talk fights. We're back next week for the Korean Zombie against Brian Ortega, which is another fight I've been looking forward to kind of talking about for a bit there. So I'm going to start watching some fights for that over the next few days. And like I say, I'm looking forward to that fight. So bet-wise, I'm probably going to be betting. I've already bet Giga. I've got money on Tejia Ulanbekov with the parlay with Casey Kenny. I'm going to bet Ilia Topuria. I'm going to bet Marcus Perez. And there might be one more, I'm not sure, but I like the plays that I've got for this card. We'll see how it goes. Kind of reminds me of UFC 253 where I picked 3 dogs and they all came through. Hopefully they can come through here. So guys, thank you for the thumbs up. Much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Until next week, guys, all the very, very best. Take care. Go support the other predictors out there that make this... who make predictions every week because they put stuff out there for you guys. So until next week, guys, all the best, take care and enjoy the fights when they come around this Saturday.